This is Things You Might Not Have Heard. I am Jay Clifton Payne, and in the queue today, 8 news stories from yesterday, the past day, that you vetted as conversational, covering information, politics, current events, and pop culture news. USAID, DOGE, and Canada, CANADA, all in the news today, plus 5 other stories. They're actually all intertwined. Everything is seemingly connected today, and you'll see how the connections go as we go through the stories. As I said, you vet it as conversational. We'll explain how the vetting process works after all 8 headlines are done, but right now we'll let you know how to know about us and get to us. Number 1, know more about us by going to our website. This is theconversationproject.com. All the calls to actions you will hear throughout the show will go back to that website so you can find us, learn about us, and do things with us there. Also, email us with your comments, concerns, and any questions you may have anytime you feel at theconversationinbox@gmail.com. Today happens to be Wednesday, February 26, 2025. If all the chirons and all the dates are right, I'll see what happens when we get these things done. I've had some issues reading some stories lately, so apologies for that one. Yes, the governor of California is only asking for $40 billion, not $400 billion, but you get the gist of it. Y'all hate him anyway, but that's not in today's story stack. Today's stack starts right now with story number 1, a late-breaking thing from last night because the president is getting his way. The House Republicans passed a funding bill for Trump's agenda after a last-minute drama. This happened late into the evening last night, around, I'll say late in the evening, I guess around 10-ish or so, 9-ish, 10-ish to basically have everything done. The vote was razor thin, as said the robot editor, 217 to 215. The House Republicans advanced the budget blueprint pivotal to President Donald Trump's legislative priorities in one big, beautiful bill, looks like. $4.5 trillion proposal aims to extend tax cuts, bolster defense and border security funding, and implement a $2 trillion spending reduction over the next decade. The passage underscores the deep divisions within the party and high-stakes negotiations led by House Speaker Mike Johnson. If you have been watching how things get funded in Congress for the last decade at least, maybe even further back, but while I've been paying attention, basically since the Tea Party movement came into something where people decided we just ain't going to pay for something, that's what things go for. The party of fiscal conservatism, which is the Republican Party, have issues with spending too much money, so things that basically spend money they don't want to spend don't get voted on. Essentially, the biggest non-vote for this one was Representative Thomas Massie, who basically won't vote for anything that's money. There are people who will never vote for a continuing resolution, never vote to extend the government because they want a balanced budget right now. Thomas Massie represents that guy, and he voted against this. Everybody else fell in line, so everything would work out for the House in this case. Now, President Trump is looking for some more things to happen, and apparently it took some late night phone calls and convincing folks that were hard nosed to be okay. I'll do it this time. Massie, the one person that you're never going to get. I don't think Massie's planning on running for re-election, or at least he's so hard dug into his constituency. They don't care. They like Trump, but they like Massie enough that they'll let him do what he wants to do. We'll see what goes on. Now, here's the deal. The resolution goes to the Senate. They have to vote on their own bill and make them all come together as one, a big Voltron joining of the bills to make sure the budget passes. We will see what happens with that in the Senate. Not so hard up for debate on pushing back, if you will, but the House is usually where all the issues go for these things. So look for a fairly insane, my words, spending plan set by President Trump to be ratified by both houses of the Congress and to go into effect fairly soon. We're going to do some very hard cut stories in the next couple stories, so bear with us. And this is dealing with the onomatopoeia, the named sources, the USAID, and of course DOGE going forward. Starting off with USAID, they are doing something that is just, piling on and ripping Band-Aids off of ace bandages, off of just sucking flesh wounds. They're going to give people 15 minutes to get into the office and clear the things for the office that's been shut down essentially for weeks. U.S. Agency for International Development, or USAID, instructed their recently laid off employees to get their personal belongings from the Washington, D.C. headquarters. They have a 15-minute window to get in, get out, take care of it. That is it. This comes part of the Trump administration is going to basically shut the agency and shut down the building. And one of the weirder controversial moves that is complaining about not having people in the workplace because the buildings are empty. They're going to empty out an entire building named after Ronald Reagan, of all things, to shutter the USAID agency. One of the first things that was closed by Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. About 1,600 people in that building, the positions around the world, if you will, cut initially, but in that building, essentially everybody told not to show up for work anymore, as the agency that hands out money and does the soft power part of our diplomacy, now working under the State Department. So some people are still working in some cases, but not working at the full capacity once did. So they're going to get to go into the building the 27th and 28th of February. That is Thursday and Friday this week, essentially being done. And they get 15 minutes in sessions to go to their offices, get their stuff, and get out. Anything left will be unclaimed and sent to a government warehouse where, if you've seen those things before, if people leave suddenly or something happens or whatnot, they just send their stuff to a back warehouse and they inventory it and they sell it on websites or give it to people, stuff like that, things like that. It's essentially, your storage wars for government stuff. The retrieval process has security screenings, making sure the right people are there, they're in the right places, they don't wander anyplace else, they don't try to take a copy machine that isn't there or microwave or stuff like that. And the biggest issue with this one is the abrupt layoffs mean a lot of people are really, really stuck. Number one, they're trying to find new work, new jobs. These aren't people who were given a chance to take the buyout in a case. These are people that were told, yeah, you're not working here anymore tomorrow, and just shut things down. This has been controversial. It's been a bit scary, and it's not the worst thing that's going to happen over the period of time. A lot more things are happening. Unintended consequences from the intended consequences will happen, and Donald Trump is seeing some people complain about those things. We'll talk a bit about that later on in the episode. But moving on to another issue, this is fighting the power, I guess, where 21 DOGE staffers have resigned in protest against the public service cuts. This is the first time anybody's really pushed back in the DOGE agency, although DOGE is technically a new agency and it's all sort of weird on who's actually working. These aren't the 9 guys with the backpacks who are hacking things, but 21 employees who are official employees of the Department of Government Efficiency, the actual department that was transitioned to be this, have quit. They are engineers, they're data scientists, they're project managers, and they express deep concerns over the agency's cost-cutting measures. They're doing things essentially the way you're supposed to in protest. When something goes awry, you leave in protest, assuming you have someplace else to go going forward, and that protest is lodged, and the people can see what's going on, and history can judge the persons in charge of this. But they are definitely seeing jeopardizing issues in cutting public services, cutting all these jobs, cutting all these places, getting rid of folks, and just saying there are issues. They wrote a resignation letter, a joint one, emphasizing their commitment to serving the American people and safeguarding critical government systems and sensitive data, stating that they could not support the actions done by their agency they were now assigned to, which changed from one to the other. There are many resignations actually going across that. About 40 DOGE members in total so far have actually left. They are designers, human resource personnel. They left early in the month as things started rolling pretty quickly. At this point, some higher level folks with a big letter trying to state out to the public, to the people, why the things that are being done aren't great things to be done. They highlight the reductions are severely impacting modernization efforts. Essentially, all the work they're doing to update Social Security, veteran services, and tax filing, healthcare, disaster relief, student aid, all things they're working to do to make things better, make things more modern, make things make more sense. Essentially, cutting, killing, and getting rid of everything is going to make things worse. Cutting costs by getting rid of personnel, something that's very, very, very overdone in corporate America. Works for a budget sheet and works for a budget and makes your shareholders happy for a while. But then the people who are left behind have to do all the work that's left plus their work, and it becomes an issue. The leader of DOGE, who will actually sort of address in our teaser story again, Elon Musk, is facing mounting criticism for his aggressive approach to reducing government expenditures. Although if you went to something like CPAC and saw him walk around with the chainsaw of inefficiency, and saw people who were just cheering him on for all the things he's doing, and all the people who now have a term called being doiged, who people have been used in sort of a mocking manner, only to find out that their neighbors that they liked a lot actually worked for the government and got doiged, so now they're backing off. I'm talking about you, Jesse Waters, are dealing with these things. So people are leaving the agency of note, whether you take note or not, that actually it makes a difference. These are people that really, really, really think you should listen to what they're saying, and you probably should. Let's move on to story number 4. We're gonna get back to Elon in a moment, and it's gonna be this. We're going to pay off on that teaser graphic, which I'm sorry I cut off his fist. Sorry about that. But right now, let's talk about U.S. and Ukraine. The United States and Ukraine have finalized a significant agreement focusing on the development of Ukraine's natural resources and post-war reconstruction efforts. This accord, expected to be signed during President Volodymyr Zelensky's upcoming visit to D.C., outlines a collaborative framework for harnessing Ukraine's vast mineral wealth. A central component of the deal is the establishment of a Reconstruction investment fund into which Ukraine will allocate about 50% of its revenues generated from the state's own natural resources extraction. These funds are earmarked for national infrastructure projects aiming to revitalize the country's economy and rebuild critical systems affected by ongoing conflicts. Notably, the finalized agreement omits earlier U.S. demands for $500 billion claim over Ukraine's natural resource revenues. Instead, it emphasizes on more balanced partnership with both nations sharing the proceeds derived from joint developments and through the resources. However, the deal does not encompass specific U.S. security guarantees or commitments to continue military support, aspects that were initially sought by Kyiv. This omission to the commission has raised concerns among Ukrainian officials regarding the long-term security implications of the agreement. Geopolitical ramifications aside, this is a good thing for U.S. and Ukraine, in theory. Now, it does take it away from Donald Trump saying, oh, you guys can give us half your mineral rights, like just give us money, to we're going to put into a fund and help you build and reconstruct things. This may be an actual good blueprint for the Gaza Riviera, or whatever they're going to call that thing over there once they get rid of the Palestinians and make that into a golf course. But this is actually not so much a bad plan, with the caveat being there aren't the security agreements to make sure that nothing's going to happen to Ukraine going forward. They could work on the reconstruction and still allow Russia to come in and push forward and do stuff going on to that one. I mean, they won't have any protections from that. They can't join NATO, can't join any coalitions to have allies to join them, but they will put their money into the sale of stuff. We'll get a cut of it, but most of it will go to a fund to help rebuild stuff that will help them rebuild things. So we'll basically have our contractors doing the fixing for them. That's not necessarily a bad thing. This is not the worst idea that Donald Trump had out there, but the problem is there's no security. There's no security provisions for the Ukrainians. We don't know if we have their back or not. We don't know what's going to happen going forward. We don't know if this happens once they just wholesale give it to Russia anyway. We don't know. 4 stories down, 4 stories to go. Right now, we're in the part where we pause and we ask for a little help from you guys. This is the like, share, and subscribe section of the podcast, of the video, of the thingamabobber here, where we ask you to like, share, and subscribe to this video and other products we do on our channels. Now, if you like this video, this one you're watching right here, it will tell the algorithm that it's a good video to share it to more people to like it. Also, it will tell Jay Cleveland Payne, this is a good video. You pick good sources, good news, good timing, good stuff like that. Okay, video angles, working on that as well. And you should do more of it. And I'll do more of that one. If you share it with like-minded people who love this type of news and enjoy this type of commentary, we'll gain more people into the zeitgeist that is the News Nerd Nation, that is our family. So you share it directly with those folks. Hopefully they'll like it and they'll keep watching for the content and engaging as well. And the big thing, if you're not getting this natively into your feeds, you need to subscribe to wherever you want to get your news from me from. Now, there's YouTube, X, and Facebook, where this thing comes down as a long form thingamabobber. There's TikTok and YouTube Shorts that gives some short things there. We do audio broadcasts, audio podcasts, which are rebroadcasts of this here on various platforms on the podcasting world. Your platform is where you want to get it from. It's awesome. And of course, we have an email newsletter that is just the words, just the links to the stories, and not my face and voice. If my face and voice and maybe my commentary is an issue, then try those out for size. Like, share, subscribe. Help us join more forces in our Nerd Nation panel and do more better soon. Sorry, working on that. For those watching the video, you got a really weird facial tics. For folks who are listening to the audio, It may go dead for a few bits. There are things happening. Don't worry, we're coming back. And we're back to the news, back to Musk, and we're talking about not so much his personal life, not so much his eccentricness, but his Canadian citizenship. Did you know Musk was a citizen of Canada? He is a natural born citizen of South Africa, but a naturalized citizen of both America, U.S., and Canada. And 250,000 Canadians want him gone. They have signed a petition to revoke his citizenship from Canada. This was as of this morning, essentially. 250,000 signatures is initiated by Kuala Reid and sponsored by the New Democratic Party MP Charles Angus. So these are actual politicians, people who really can do stuff, are petitioning that Musk is engaging in activities contrary to Canada's national interest, particularly highlighting advocacy roles for the U.S. and President Donald Trump. And they are advocating that these accusations are good enough to kick him out of citizenship. I did not know he was a citizen of Canada. This will go back into the Grimes thing, who maybe says I should really actually read about Grimes at this point because she really is more important than just a weird side piece story. But critics are arguing that Musk's involvement in Trump's administration undermines Canadian sovereignty, especially in light of President Trump's repeated suggestion of annexing Canada and making it the 51st state, which would, I guess, lose one citizenship, I guess. Musk actually repeatedly dropping there, saying that Canada is not a real country, despite being a citizen of the country. Did you know that Elon Musk was a citizen of Canada? Apparently no one did but these politicians, and they looked it up and found it. And so since this has been found out, they want him gone. They want to extradite Mr. Musk, who probably never actually goes to Canada, from their presence. We'll see if this petition goes anywhere, if it means anything. And since he's pretty safe here in the U.S. with us, I don't think it means that much. I don't know how many Tesla stuff comes out of Canada. I'm sure they get parts and things out of Canada, and they got to Mexico as well. But we'll see how this works for Musk's businesses, Musk's life, Musk's children, and Musk himself. And, of course, ultimately, Donald Trump. The U.S. Supreme Court has granted Oklahoma death row inmate Richard Glossip a new trial. This is a big one happening yesterday. Supreme Court overturned the conviction of Oklahoma death row inmate Richard Glossip, granting him a new trial due to significant prosecutorial misconduct. It was a 5-3 ruling authored by Justice Sonia Sotomayor, highlighting that prosecutors failed to correct false testimony from key witnesses such as Justin Sneed and withheld crucial information regarding Sneed's psychiatric condition. Sneed, who confessed in 1997 murder of Barry Van Treese, had implicated Glossip in exchange for avoiding the death penalty himself. The withheld evidence raised substantial doubts about Sneed's credibility, which was central to Glossip's conviction. Chief Justice John Robertson, Justice Brett Kavanaugh joined the court's 3 liberal justices in the majority of the decision, while Neil Gorsuch recused himself due to prior involvement in the case. Oklahoma Attorney General Gentner Drummond acknowledged the flawed conviction now faces the decision of whether to retry Glossip altogether, considering the challenges posed by the case's age and the tainted evidence. At some point in time, it gets way too old to retry something in the manner it should be. And since all the evidence is just bad, how do you actually give the guy a fair trial? Something must be done about this, yes. But how exactly to give him a fair trial, I guess it's up to Drummond to figure it out. Oh, the drama. If you are a fan of Boy Meets World, if you're a guy of a certain age, man or woman, myself, right now, older, middle to older Gen Xer, maybe a Gen Z or the lower age, if you will, you remember the lovely shows that highlighted the childhoods that we wish we had on TV and sitcoms, such as Boy Meets World. So the crew of the Boy Meets World cast are doing what all the podcasters are doing these days that have a podcast, rewatching their old shows to be relevant. And there's an episode that's causing a whole lot of kerfuffles with the kerfuffle inside the episode, which has stars Danielle Fisher and star Maitland Ward going on a heated debate on whether one was acknowledged someone back and forth. So drop your memes for Roman Reigns and acknowledge me all you want to, because guess what? There was some sliding and there was some fighting in the pod. Maitland Ward joined the cast of Pod Meets World, which are made up of various members of the former cast of Boy Meets World, including Danielle Fishel. The exchange got heated when Fisher directly asked Ward, "Do you hate us?" Ward denied harboring any animosity, that's the word, but expressed feelings of hurt by Fishel's perceived coldness during their interactions on the set of the spinoff Girl Meets World. She recounts instances where Fisher allegedly ignored her, leading to feelings of ostracization, and Fisher responded by explaining that the Girl Meets World set was a challenging environment for her, describing it as tumultuous, and nothing that she said was there, and noting she didn't know she felt ostracized or criticized. So there's that. That went to an odd misinterpretation of how life went for the two people. Normally, Danielle Fishel got to be the pretty girl and the it girl. Maitland Ward went to, adult film stuff to be relevant and make money. So that happened. Fishel and the podcast host also say they harbor some feelings against Ben Savage, the co-star, and series creator Michael Jacobs, saying that there's some back and forth, or the Ward actually has perceptions that the podcast host actually had those things as well. It's a really weird sort of thing. One of the other co-hosts, Will Frito, expressed his frustration over Savage's sudden cessation of communication. Basically, Ben Savage just stopped talking to everybody and just dropped off the planet, doing whatever Ben Savage does. So there's really a lot of just weird sort of pent-up frustration for all the cast, all the people working on the show, and say shows, because it was a big deal. Now, someone mentioned the other day, and it was watching the honest reviews for Harry Potter series, talking about how all the kids that worked through all those Harry Potter movies, basically none of them had any serious issues, any weird child actor drama. They all turned out more or less okay. Most of them dropped out of acting and are just living regular lives. Some are doing things what they're going to do, but pretty much the cast that was out there on mainstream, the front end cast, all came out well. What we're seeing from some people, that even though the zeitgeist has a lot of real, let's say, feelings of nostalgia for, some of them turn out as well as we thought they did. And they're having the same drama that us regular folks in the Gen X world are having as well, with our former friends and former, co-workers from our teen years. So I guess that's good. Did you like Boy Meets World or Girl Meets World? Let me know in the comments on that one going forward. Finally, a sign of our times. An Idaho town hall erupts into chaos, so says my robot editor, and its headline, as woman is forcibly removed for shouting at speakers. Not at the 13s on the stage, at the speakers standing there speaking into the mics for the 13s to give their voice out. Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, always mess up those French words, erupted in chaos. The Republican-hosted legislation town had this big deal when the Democratic legislative candidate Teresa Borenful was forcibly removed by 3 plainclothes security personnel for heckling the speakers. The incident occurred this last week at the high school there. It was captured on video, of course, widely circulated online, of course, sparking public outcry, as it probably should. In response, $120,000 has been raised to support Boris Pole's legal expenses. Coeur d'Alene Police Chief Lee White, apologies to the folks who live in that fine town, has called for the revocation of the securities firm's business license, citing violations of city ordinance that requires security personnel to be clearly identified. They weren't. Additionally, the city attorney's office dismissed a misdemeanor battery citation against Borenful. Quote, in the interest of justice and an independent investigation will be initiated for the incident. About 450 people attended the town hall organized by Kootenai County Republican Central Committee. The event became contentious, especially during discussion on sensitive topics such as abortion. Borenful, after being warned multiple times to stop interrupting, was approached by the Kootenai County Sheriff Bob Norris, who introduced himself and instructed her to leave or be escorted out. When she did not comply, that's when the unidentified men, the actual security forces that were hired by some of the speakers, employees of Lear Asset Management, had her disappeared. She sustained some bruises, and the location expressed she feared for her safety. Like we said, they were private security. They were not actually identified per the beginning of the accostation by the police chief. They didn't know they were there. They did the thing, so there are a bunch of issues in this one. But as we are seeing, oddly enough, in many cases, Republicans in town halls being shouted out by normal citizens in most cases. This being a person that was actual voted in person to office who's essentially speaking on her constituents. So that makes it a slightly different matter. We're seeing more of this. We're hearing more of this. We're literally seeing, I got my TV next to me here, clips of people shouting down many folks. This time not shouting down the Democrats for backing a dumb Joe Biden, but shouting down Republicans for backing a what seems like not exactly coherent and not exactly what a plan, Donald Trump and Elon Musk. These will continue. Hopefully they will stay peaceful. We can only hope. We transition out of the stories, 8 headlines from yesterday that you engaged in and you wanted to talk about. Now we talk about what happens going forward. This is the teaser section with a story we are teasing that we're going to post for you to engage in for today, and explanations on how these teases actually work. They don't hurt. They won't make your feelings feel bad. Just like in all media, we're teasing this story and other stories we post on our news feeds on X and on Facebook, our feeds for you to engage in. We ask you to go to Facebook and X, facebook.com/This is the Conversation Project and x.com/th_conversation. And what you need to do is see what we're talking about. As you're checking your X for the latest Elon tweets or your Facebook for whatever that guy is doing for the hair today, you can see what we're talking about. Go to us directly, follow us on the feeds, or see if we pop up in your feed. Make sure you click us so we get notifications. You follow us, that things pop up to get those things. Stories will be posted every 50 minutes or so that you can engage in, and the more engagement you give to it, the better chance you have of talking about it. Like it, love it, hate it, share it, engage in it, reply to it, send me comments on it. You can also reply back in videos, reply back in other ways, and I'll sort of see that as engagement as well. The more you talk about a story, the more chance we have of talking about it. We are not talking about the Trump administration still not having to give access to Associated Press for their events, because it did not rank as high as I thought it would be. Because as I get from all the comments I do about this and videos and things like that, the bulk of the audience that responds are pro-Trump, and they are glad about it. Many folks complain about the free speech aspects, but many people that respond say they don't want to talk about it, so we're not talking about it. But when we talk about this one, a few days ago, it was told that Elon Musk was not actually the head of DOGE, because he's not actually a government employee. He is a special advisor to the president. Anybody the president wants to advise gets that spot. But he's doing the heavy leg work. The real worker, the real person who's in charge, is a woman named Amy Gleason, who's the acting director of DOGE. DOGE was a government agency that got name changed. So technically you actually have to go to Congress and get someone approved for this one, but they haven't. And Musk is doing all the work. So there's that. You want to talk about Amy and what work she's doing or not doing behind Elon's back? I guess it's behind Elon's back. Go to the story as it's being posted out there. If you're watching this now, because we're doing the tape to air to tape, it's probably out there already whenever you're watching this video, but check it out. If this is a story you want to talk about, engage in it. Other stories, engage in those as well. And if we're not picking the right stories, let me know by emailing me at theconversationinbox@gmail.com. Now, so deeper into the engagement, I'm going long in this, I apologize. Deeper into the engagement way, what you do is you engage in a story. We take the top half of the stories from today, this Wednesday. 15 of the 30 or so we'll get throughout the day. We'll pick 8 of those stories to present for you tomorrow. That's simple. If you want this in the 8 stories for tomorrow, engage in it so it makes a big difference. So it's seen with lots of engagement. That way there is no denying it's important. Our spotlight sponsor for today is Blinkist. And we're going to go very quick because we're running late. Blinkist has over 6,500 books in its actual library of nonfiction and autobiographies that you can read or listen to as audio form, most of which in less than 15 minutes. They condense all books into bite-sized summaries they call blinks that are perfect for on the go. Whether you're commuting or taking a break, just winding down a bit, you can listen and learn or read and learn anywhere, anytime. I listen to a book on the way to work every morning and on the way to sleep every night to get my Blinkist in. It's something I do. That's a ritual for me. So I get most out of that one. And many times I end up buying the full book because I get so interested in it. I want the full details. I bought an autobiography a biography because they didn't write themselves. That's a mashup, a side-by-side description of Jefferson Davis and Abraham Lincoln, the presidents of the Confederacy and the Union, respectively. Also bought a book that is titled Maybe You Should Talk to Someone, which from the blink seemed like it was hilarious, and from listening to it, it also is. But it's deep insight from a actual therapist on going through therapy by her. Her basically going through the process that broke her and made her go to a new therapist, and contrasting that with how she interacts with some of her clients, all of which have been changed to save anonymity. Some of these folks are quite hoots, and I'm glad I got the full book for this one. And you can do the same thing as well. Go to Blinkist and maybe find that next great book you want to by going through the Blink itself, or get lots of knowledge on all the books you don't have time to catch up on by catching on them in 15 minutes or less. Now, if you get some long thing like one of those laws of power thing that may take you like weeks to read, you can get those done in 45 minutes. It's their way. Plus, get 6% discount on the premium subscription by using our link. Go to thisistheconversationproject.com/Blinkist. This is theconversationproject.com/Blinkist, and you can get in on all the books you've been missing for a while. Now, this discount comes with our link, so we get a very small commission for you joining in, but it costs you nothing more. In fact, you're getting 6% off the discount. So there's that. Check it out today. This is theconversationproject.com/Blinkist. The Conversation Project lives online at thisistheconversationproject.com because that's our website. Your voice shapes the news, or the news we cover at least, because we go through and aggregate stories from everywhere, anywhere we can. Some of these sources are a bit odd. Some of them are, the bloggy things that popped up. That story we had about the Build-A-Bear party, which I'm told is a few years old because they do that for those things. Apologies for that. I was thinking within like 6 months or so, but apparently it's been out there for a few iterations. But you guys had your thoughts on that one as well. But you tell us what stories are conversational, whether they are silly things like a woman has a birthday party, Build-A-Bear, makes all the kids give their daughter all the bears, or something as serious as layoffs that's going across the government. You engage in the stories via our feeds, and you tell us which ones are the most important ones to chat up as conversational. It's not just me going through a run list of what's trending or watching the news, like is literally to my left right here, seeing what they're talking about and just pulling those stories because they're easy to do. We put out stories all day long that we see what people are really wanting to chit chat about, and and every morning we pile them together. We look at the engagement scores. We give you 8 of those top stories, and we let you know what stories people are talking about. So sometimes you get a story that you missed. Sometimes you get an OF story that you really, really wish you missed, because those things are pretty nasty. But you engage in them. So that's how it goes. So be a part of the family. Like, share, and subscribe so we get more people in the family. Follow us at our website and do all the calls to actions. Consider being a partner. Consider checking out more sponsors, helping us out. And remember, you can do for free. Engage in the stories. Go to our feeds on Facebook and X. Engage in the stories so that we know what to talk about. And if we get the wrong stories, you want to talk about something deeper, email me at theconversationinbox@gmail.com, and we can go deeper into the chit chat. With that, we're done with today's chit chat. Today's 8 stories for you. Didn't go too bad. Didn't go too long, but we're going to work on that. If you're new here, you may have noticed some things that might seem kind of off, but that's because we do things different here. If you're not new here, you may have noticed a couple things that look different, sound different, and work a little different. I believe today I gave a very nice and smooth, pure read of the stories going forward. A little less commentary, just mostly because I'm kind of tired, to be honest. But we're going to do some things to work on some engagement stuff with us, me and you, and going back and forth, and doing more production things that are better. So for right now, we're not doing the live to live stuff, so I can't interact with you in live comments. Apologies for that. But hopefully the quality of the sound, which has been issues with I guess, my internet for my streaming, and the quality of some of the graphics will be a bit better dealing with that stuff. We're working on it. We're growing. We're a small channel. We're only at 1,800 subscribers on YouTube. And so we're looking to get to be 3 at the end of the year, looking to be 10 in the next couple of years. We're not, I'm not trying to be Anderson Cooper. I'm not trying to be that guy. I'm trying to be me and have conversations with you. So with that, stay limber, stay hydrated, stay on task for all the things you do. Life is a marathon. Don't try to turn it into a sprint. And remember that I love you guys immensely, profusely, with all my heart and a good bit of my soul, what's left of it. Thank you so much for being friends. Thank you so much for being a part of the crew. Thank you for just being you. Whether you like what I'm saying or hate what I'm saying, whether you agree or disagree, whether you're rather rude with your comments or giving me some actual praise and some commentary and a little bit of constructive criticism, I thank you all, and we'll do it again come tomorrow.